I'm James Preece, and I'm an international dating and relationships coach. I've been helping singles find love for over 15 years, have written best-selling books, and worked with many dating companies all over the world. My Love Machine podcast is all about finding love, loving yourself, loving life, and finding new ways to help you live your life with more happiness, passion, and success. I answer your questions, interview inspiring experts, and bring you lots of fun new ideas to finally bring you the love you deserve into your life. Well, hello there, and welcome back to the very latest episode of my Love Machine podcast. Now, today I am privileged to be joined by a very special guest. Today I am joined by the wonderful Emma, who is a sex and relationships coach and a meditation dance teacher. She specialises in somatic healing and fun ways to heal yourself. Now, for those that don't know, somatic healing is where the practitioner uses the body to make lasting changes. Is that right, Emma?
That's right, yeah. Often practitioners will work with the mind or just the mind, but actually all of our memories, beliefs and everything are stored in the subconscious, they're stored in the body. We have body reactions to things. So when we just work with the mind, we don't see the shifts that we can see when we work with the body as well, sometimes. Depends. Obviously, I don't want to put down, thought therapy is also extremely valuable, but sometimes people, a lot of my clients find that once they start working with the body, the shifts become really significant.
Wonderful. So today we're going to be talking about how to free yourself from your ex, because quite often people have this attachment to their ex-partner, their ex-husband, their ex-wives, their ex, whoever it might be, and it holds us back from moving forwards and meeting someone new. And a lot of people do come to me with this situation. They feel almost tied to somebody and they can't escape it. Maybe it's hope, maybe it's thinking they might change, maybe it's what they're used to, maybe they think they're never going to meet someone again. So it's a very useful topic, and I'm very pleased to have you here. Now, first of all, we discussed this off air very quickly. You are currently between surnames.
I am. I'm going through my own release process.
Can you explain all that and explain your story?
Yeah, well, so I was married. I was married for a number of years, and I went back to my maiden name, but neither of my surnames felt right. So I'm just in the process of just working out what fits me. And I think this is something that I've come across, sometimes in order to let go and move into a new place, sometimes it feels like, actually, I really want to drop into who I am. And I'm not that old person. I'm not my maiden name. I'm not my ex's, surname. And so, I'm feeling into that. And I'm giving myself space. And sometimes giving ourselves a decent amount of space to work through things and drop into ourselves is exactly what we need. So that's the little story behind that.
I love that. So what sort of name are you thinking of? Something completely made up name, or something like Jones or Smith, or are you going to go with Sparkle or something more mystical?
I believe in meditation and what comes through. So I'm just letting something come, and I'm hoping it could be something made up. It could be something that just more reflects who I feel at my core. Not necessarily how other people see me, but some name that resonates with me somehow and just feels right.
Excellent. So you're going to use all your own techniques on yourself, a bit of meditation, and will you dance at the same time? I
might dance. I might paint and dance. Who knows? draw, journal and dance. I don't know. We'll see what comes.
That sounds great fun. A lot of people do choose their own surnames, particularly if they are. I know people that have maybe got married before and they've both taken parts of their surname and combined them. So it's not a rare thing, is it? People often do choose their own names. Yeah. And of course, celebrities do that all the time. Or they drop their surname. Maybe we'll just be like Beyonce. Yeah. or Adele. You'd just be known as Emma, maybe.
Yeah. I need probably a better, a more memorable first name.
Maybe you'll change that as well. Maybe you'll be Emma Lance or something like that. I don't know. Emma Vetti. I don't know. Whoever comes into my silly little brain at any one time. But let's go back on track, because I can see this is one of the conversations that's going to go off the track, and it's like, hold on to it very tightly. So can you explain to people, you explain what you do. Can you explain your own story and how you got into this?
Yeah, about 5 years ago, so I was 5-6 years ago, I was married, and I just had that sense. I'd followed my head into the relationship, and I'd come across someone. It was the first person I'd laughed with. He ticked a number of boxes, and in his own right, he's a beautiful man. He just wasn't my person. And we had 2 children together. And I just had this sense of, this does not feel right. I am not deeply happy in this relationship. And what it felt like is that we were building on each other's, I would use the word trauma, and trauma sometimes can sound like a really big thing, like we have to have major trauma. And actually, all of us have some level of hidden trauma, which can even just be things like not having anger met when we were younger, not feeling understood, not having our needs met, being forced into all these different things that we didn't want to do as children. And we end up having these beliefs about ourselves. Sometimes things like, I'm not worth it. Even my beliefs were, oh, it's okay. Loads of people don't have sex for ages when they're married. It's fine that, I'm not interested in that with this particular person. And actually, what I've realized is that as I start to work on my beliefs, is I am worth it. And it can be so challenging when you've been in a relationship for so long, whether you have children or not. Everything gets kind of mixed up together, and your memories, even everything gets kind of mixed up. And so it took me about 6 months of really doing, this is where I started the kind of meditation work. And I started with something called the work of Byron Katie, which is an inquiry process to question your thoughts. And for me, it was extremely powerful, because suddenly I was like, you have to stay with him for the kids, these sorts of thoughts. I started to work with those, and then I started to get released, and I realized that this was not the right relationship for me or him. And the moment I knew was I had my head in his lap on Christmas Day, on the sofa, and I just thought, I really love you and appreciate you, but you are not the person I want to spend the rest of my life with. We're just not right for each other. And that was the beauty about the start of that work. It was about coming to the decision from a place of love rather than from a place of, this person is this and this is wrong with them. And of course, since that point, I still work with my thoughts on my ex-husband, my judgments, everything like that, because we co-parent now, and that is triggering in itself on a repeated basis. So these tools, dance meditation, painting through things, just working with my thoughts, or working somatically with the body and the memories, and working out why I'm judging this person, and what steps, what needs are not being met in myself that cause me to judge my ex. Or, for some of us, our ex is still in our lives, and for some of us, we can let go of them completely. But yeah, it's kind of letting go of expectations of our ex as well. Or expectations of the next person. So, one things I'd love to cover if we have time is, as well as the letting go process, also looking at coming into ourselves, meeting our own needs with a big network of people. What new steps do we want to take so that we're not reliant on one person or a few people to meet our needs or help us meet our needs, so people can meet needs consensually, and also preparing ourselves for our next relationship. So I've been in a relationship now for 4 years, and it's joyful for me. It's just, and I continue to work on that relationship too, and all of my thoughts and beliefs and judgments, but I have a little bit more space around my thoughts and beliefs, and I can come back quicker into, I might get a bit grr, and then, it might only take me a few minutes, or I just take myself away. And sometimes I might go and let out some anger on the bed or something like that, which I never got to do as a child. I was not allowed, you weren't allowed to be angry for a lot of us. So I feel in a great place with an absolutely incredible sex life. And that's after 4 years. So these stories of once you've been with someone for a long time, or once you've got kids, so that's my story.
That's an amazing story. I have to ask, how did your ex take this news? Was he feeling the same way? Was he expecting it?
Well, this is really interesting. So he was really deeply upset, but part of that was about the family unit. So for him, a really strong belief was that you should stay together as a family unit. And now I kind of wanted to call in another partner for him, and he has now with someone, in fact we got together with people about the same time once we were separated. He's with someone who he adores, who they live together. And so even though it was quite painful, and really painful to witness, and really difficult for the entire family on both sides, because when you start following your heart, not everyone agrees with you. And that can be really hard when you've got expectations from other people, friends or family, that you should stay together, especially if there are kids involved, but just in general, like, oh, but he's really good for you. Maybe it's your fault. Maybe you need to work on yourself more. It's like, actually, I think the most strong thing is when we can feel into our own intuition. And that's what I help people do, is to get rid of the layers of all these expectations on ourselves or other people, so that we can get to our truth of what we really deserve and what the other person would deserve as well.
So how do you get started?
Oh, so there's one thing I wanted to mention about sort of the subconscious and the body is, even, and people can even do this now while you're listening, is just, if you are in your own space, just looking around your space and looking for any external cues to your ex relationship. And this may sound really simple, but even obviously there's more obvious things like pictures, but there are other things that you might have brought together or might be gifts. And what you want to check is your body's reaction to these. So if you look at it and you're like, oh, I love that, and I'm really happy and I feel really settled, then keep it. But if you have what's happening is, if you've got lots of these things around, especially if you've been with someone for a long time as well, and you might have bought furniture together, and those are trickier objects to remove from your space. But wherever possible, I really recommend removing items that are related to your ex. Or if you can't remove them, if it's like a bed and you can't afford a new bed, is kind of, your subconscious works with magic. It totally believes in magic. So you can just say, I take this bed back as my own, and maybe get some new bedding, or just dress it up a bit differently, or do something that makes it yours, or sets the way for a new relationship, what you want to call in as well. But first of all, make it yours, I think, rather than thinking about the next relationship, really coming into yourself. So yeah, that way our bodies know how to heal. They know how to heal trauma. Like animals in the wild don't really experience trauma, like long-term trauma, the way humans do. And, we have all these thoughts that keep us triggered. They take us out of the present moment. And what we really don't want is we want the body to let us know when it's ready. So I find, for instance, my clients, like a day or two before the session, they will get triggered by something. Like the body will bring up some kind of memory or something like that. And they'll say, do you know what I feel really angry about? This memory came up of my ex, or, and I say, perfect. And the body knows. The body is this super beautiful, conscious, intelligent thing that it's like it knows when to how to bring a splinter to the surface. It knows when you're ready, and it knows the right level of what you're ready to work with based on who you have in your life. And even if you're seeing a practitioner or something like that, it's the subconscious takes in so much information. Yeah, have you got any questions on that? I know I'm going into that. That's where you're saying about getting started.
Yeah.
Oh, that was the other thing I wanted to mention about animals and how they, work through their trauma in the wild. So this is really something that's really not known, but so powerful, which is that when we move our body, if you think that when we have a thought, we might have some adrenaline going into the system and cortisol, like stress hormones. So I don't know, you think about your ex, you think about a triggering situation, like, he, she, they didn't listen, or, some moment where your needs to be just accepted in your wholeness with love, and understanding was just not met. And what happens is your body will get scared, usually because of something that's happened in your past, like in your childhood, your anger, you was not met, you were not understood. So the body will get adrenaline and cortisol in the system. And the way that animals would naturally just go through what's called the stress cycle is that they would just burn off this adrenaline and cortisol and come back to a neutral state. So, for instance, a zebra who's been caught by a lion will just get up once the lion's gone off to get the cubs to go, because the lion thinks the zebra's passed on, go and gets the cubs, and the zebra will stand up, shake off the adrenaline and cortisol from the system. So the shaking is a massive thing in the animal world, and we are animals. We're supposed to do this as well. And lots of people will say to me, like one person said, I used to do that. I used to get to someone's front door for a party and I'd be a bit stressed and I'd just shake before I rang the doorbell. And this is a natural thing that gets so conditioned out of us because it would be seen as weird. You can't, you were told to sit still in the classroom or be quiet. Whereas in the animal world, you might scream it out. Children will naturally scream and then they get told off. Whereas actually they need to move this through the body. And then at the end of the stress cycle, what usually happens is the zebra or the other animal might come across other animals and it's safe and it gets some cuddles, and you might go back to the tribe after a scary hunt or something and then get hugged. So these are the processes of the stress cycle. So in somatic healing, we would allow ourselves to go back and feel what we needed to feel. And you don't even need to go back into memories, but sometimes the more and more we get tuned into our body, the more we will see that actually when we're stressed, when we're thinking about our ex, we might want to do something with that energy rather than just sit with it. And then that's where the fun healing comes in as well. So you can do things like dance meditation. So if you want to get involved with that, there's things like 5 rhythms, ecstatic dance, biodancer. Dance meditation is so not known about, and it's just like if you're like me and have a crazy like brain off all over the place, and you try and sit,
yes,
yeah,
I can't sit still.
Meditation, and it's just like I don't like this process. Like this is just too hard, and I'm really bad at it. Would be like one of the thoughts. I'm really bad at this meditation where I have to sit still. And for so many of us in the modern world, we have such a hectic life that trying to meditate sitting still, we're not like in a monastery somewhere with everything's really chilled. We need to dance and move through it. And a dance wave will take you through that process. It will warm you up, bring you into the body, and take you to a peak where you can move. Like you don't even need to know what it's about, move things through. I've cried at dance meditation sessions, and what's really healing is the people around you as well. So it was the first time where one lady, Kathy, is now one of my dear friends. I didn't know her at all. She just gave me a hug while I was crying about, I don't know what to do about this divorce. And she just held me. And the sorts of people you meet in dance meditation as well are just incredible people, which is where I come to, having a social network of people who support you through the process is just so vital. So that you don't have to meet all your needs yourself, and you don't have to, one other person or 2 or 3 other people don't have to meet all your needs. And I will say here as well that, sometimes we rely on our parents to help us through a breakup. But often that was where the trouble started, because they couldn't meet our emotions. They couldn't see us as whole people. Maybe they wanted to control us. So really, we need new people who are able to see us as the beautiful, gorgeous, incredible, beautiful beings that we are, with all our potential. And not any one person in the dance community could do that regularly on, they've got their own stuff. But again, having that network of friends is incredible.
You must need a great deal of vulnerability to put yourself in that situation, to dance freely in front of people you don't know to start with.
Oh, yes. I mean, even now, I've been doing this for 5 years. It's totally normal and completely valid to feel self-conscious, because we've spent decades of not moving how our body actually wants to move. Even dance classes when we're younger, it's like, here's this choreographed thing that you need to follow. And if you don't, like, if good toes, naughty toes, like some things are right and some things are wrong. And that in itself is so healing, that nothing is wrong. Like, so however you move, and if you feel self-conscious, you bring all your thoughts to the dance floor. It's okay to get distracted by your thoughts. It's okay to say, I don't like this bit of music. It's really, everything is okay. And same with art. So I also practice art meditation, where you need no skills whatsoever. And part of the joy can just be, squeezing out some paint or just drawing some stick figures of how this is like your inner child, stick figures of how you feel. They do art therapy for children, and this is art therapy for adults. So I would just take some sponges, like makeup sponges, and put some acrylic paint on. I'd never used acrylic paint until a few years ago, and then just smudge them over a canvas or over a paper, and it's so healing just to express yourself from wherever you are. Like, take some black paint and then put some sparkles over it, and I don't know, the insights that you get from this kind of work is incredible. Yeah.
It sounds great fun to do all these things and very relaxing to put yourself in the situation. I still don't entirely understand what dance meditation is. Is it sort of beats that connect with the brain and you're just relaxing? Is it, I presume you're clothed? I'm picturing people dancing around fires naked in the woods, but that's probably not what the bulk of this is. So how, if someone's going for the first time to do this and they wanted to do a bit of dance meditation, what would they have to do?
Well, so you have a dance meditation teacher like myself who would select a playlist, which is like a dance wave, and it's a crafted piece of artwork in its own self to take you on a journey. And so as you arrive, you may have some invitations. And I don't know if you've ever done, James, like a mindfulness exercise where you tune into different parts of the body.
Yes.
You ever done one of those?
Yes.
So this is like with dance and really inspiring. The music is really gorgeous, from all around the world, different forms of music. And so you might, for example, really just tune into your feet and just let your feet lead your movements and your dance for a bit. And, you might be invited to, after you've sort of settled into your own body, you might be invited to take your feet and dance on somebody else's feet. And it's a completely different way of connecting. So that's what happened in my first session. I had no idea what to expect. I showed up and I felt, as I mentioned, a mix of self-consciousness and a mix of like this joy of, wow, look at all these people just in their own. And you can see, there are new people like me who are a bit more unsure, and people who've been doing it for a while who are doing all these kind of wacky moves, which is quite inspiring. And I wasn't quite ready to do some of that, especially not for the first section. And then you might have some more upbeat tempo music, so it might be, for example, another invitation might be just soften your upper body, or allow your arms to dance and feel into the tips of your fingers. And so you're just exploring with these invitations how your body kind of interprets that. And so you're feeling into, what kind of pleasure can I get from stretching? And you can ignore the invitations at any point, and that's the beauty of it as well. I think, at the beginning you follow the invitations more, but as you go through, you're like, actually, do you know what? My body doesn't want to do that. My body just wants to get on the floor and do a really nice stretch. And you often have then stillness at the end, but stillness doesn't even have to be complete stillness. It can just be slowness. And I often find that then I can sit or lie and meditate once I've moved lots through the body. And does that make sense, or do you need more on what dance meditation is?
No, that does make sense to me now. I can imagine that going for a run might do the same sort of thing, going to the gym for some people. Would that be same sort of benefit?
Sometimes running is just the perfect thing that you need to do. And this is where it comes to when you had the first trigger, maybe in your childhood, did you want to fight, flee, or fawn, which is where we kind of put our head down like chimpanzees, and like you can put if you watch a chimp fawning, which is where you want to appease someone, you can see that their like lips draw back to show their teeth. And you can even experience this as a human when you're dealing with this, like in the body. It's really strange that these movements will come up when you're dealing with past trauma. But if you, like I have had, I do a lot of sessions with other people as well. So I receive sessions, and, in one case, it was just that I need to run. So I took my phone with me with my practitioner friend on the phone, and I went for a run. But as you're running, you're going to want to free yourself. And this is where you need somewhere where maybe people aren't going to see you. But you want to free yourself from I would like shake my hands and flap my hands. And my eldest son is diagnosed with autism. Hand flapping is a thing known as a stimming thing that children with autism do. My son is like my biggest teacher because he does not have the social, he does not need to conform to all the social norms. So he shows me how I would move. And I think, oh, I need to shake it off. And actually, sometimes I just need to roll about, or I need to like beat the bed a little bit. If it's like anger, you often get a lot of energy in your hands, which is where painting or drumming. So you can do music to process, you can do writing to process. And each different thought or belief will often require something different. So it's not like running is always the answer or dancing is always the answer. And the more you do the work, the more you feel into that. But just as a starting point, I think dance has a lot more freedom than running. And it's important to be in a space where you feel safe, because there's so much in our system that will say you are not safe to move and dance and sound as you want to. So the sorts of spaces I offer a lot of online spaces as well as in-person spaces, which means that people can have their videos off and they can have their sound off. So they can actually, with guidance, explore a lot of movements that you can't even often explore in a dance meditation class. So a lot of the time in a dance meditation class, we're still surrounded by people, which is beautiful, it has its own beauty. But then you can actually add in as well, I can do whatever I like and no one's going to judge me. Even though you will still feel self-conscious, even in your own space with just you. That's just totally normal too.
I want to have a go at that sometime. Just doing it with the sound off and the camera off and just doing it at one of your online classes. It sounds great fun.
Yes.
I'm very open to all these things. I have to be to do my job. I have to be open-minded and I have to want to try this. I used to think I didn't have a lot of trauma myself, but I realised recently there was a lot of trauma going on in my life when I was growing up. Lots of bullying, lots of different weird things going on for different reasons. Not quite in the same way as other people sometimes, but I have my own trauma and I'm still dealing with that, and you still process that as an adult. But let's talk, because we're going to run out of time already. Let's talk about moving on. So you've got over your ex, or you're working through that particular situation. What can you do to protect yourself moving forwards and to grow?
So I mentioned about looking at how you meet your needs by yourself. So that includes some of the things that we often rely on another person for are intimacy, play, adventure, some of those needs. So one of the things I say as a sex and relationships coach is really look at your own intimacy with yourself, because, you know, you can have the most fabulous, mind-blowing experiences with different tools, including meditation. So you can do sex meditations as well, intimacy meditations, and really explore this relationship with yourself. And then when you go into a new relationship, again, you're exploring your own boundaries. Like so often in sex and relationships, we do a lot of things to please another person. So when you really come into yourself and really explore what you deeply want and enjoy, then a new world opens, and a new confidence opens as well, and less neediness, you know. And it's normal for us to be, you know, most of us have decades worth of trauma in our system. It's really normal to look to someone, but we can also really look at what we want to call in. And again, I really recommend doing this with meditation, because meditation gets to the subconscious and it gets more to the body level. Whereas when we try to do things logically, it's so easy for our mind to get in and use our old beliefs to gear our process. So when you're looking at who you want to call in, I really recommend doing that as a vision, you know, as a vision through dancing, through moving, and you know, potentially with someone else in a class, you know, a coach or something like that, to really question your thoughts of what you are worth. And you are worth so much, and you deserve to either be by yourself, if that's going to be the best thing for you, and you deserve exactly what you want in a partner, which will be someone for you to grow with. So neither of you are going to be perfect, but it just needs to be someone. So I think of my own relationship, that when the trauma comes up, you can deal with it together and you grow together. And that's what I've witnessed and experienced. And that's what I witnessed and experienced with my clients as well. And it is just, you know, having these new tools to be able to process things as you go means that you can move on without the same patterns. So shifting the old patterns out of the body, so that when you look back on your childhood in certain moments, you're like, actually, I don't feel so triggered by that anymore. My parent was doing their best, you know, and honoring all the trauma that is still there. And I think that's a key with the new person, is we need to be with someone who we can work through things with, rather than expecting them to be perfect to meet all our needs, or expecting ourselves to be perfect and meet all of our own needs. There's a lot of so it's freeing ourselves from expectations and really honouring what we deeply deserve, every single one of us, to achieve our potential in relationships and in life in general.
I completely agree with you there. I think what's important to remember, you should never settle in a relationship, but you should always remember that compromise is essential. But that compromise and settling are completely different. Compromise when you both are willing to work as a team together moving forwards, which is so important. And something else I'd like to add as well is that you shouldn't regret your exes. You shouldn't look back on them, because there must have been good times along the way. And what it's done, it's brought you to where you are at this point in your life now. It's made you who you are. And you can learn from that. And don't let anyone else in the future be affected by your past, because it's irrelevant, I think, as far as I'm concerned, as a coach, because what you do now and the actions you take, the meditations you take, and how you work on yourself will shape your future in a different way. So learn from these things, but don't regret them. Would you agree with that?
I absolutely love that. I really, really love that. And that's, yeah, I mean, even right now, when that, I find myself tuning into that and seeing, oh yeah, this was really positive about that old relationship. This has changed me completely, so that I could, without my ex's relationship, I would not have the same relationship with my partner now, from everything that I learned and explored and released as well. So yeah, thank you. What a beautiful piece of wisdom. Thank you.
You also, you wouldn't have your son. I wouldn't have my children if life had gone a different way. You always look back and think, I wish I'd done that, wish I'd done this. But it's brought you to where you are now. And I bet you wouldn't change anything about your son, would you? So that's how things work. But I know we could just talk for hours and hours and hours. And I know we're going to talk again, Emma. So anything you want to add, final advice there? And if someone wants to get hold of you and find out more about your classes and all the things you teach, how would they do that?
So yes, so just I run events and workshops, and sometimes I run free events as well, so people can do little tasters, and I do coaching as well. As I said, I'm between surnames at the moment. I'm loveandplayuniverse.com is where to find me, and but I will redirect people as required when things set up in my new glorious name.
Hopefully the graphic for this podcast will have your new updated surname on there, the start of your new adventure and new life. And I will put any correct website links in there so anyone can listen to that. But Emma, thank you so much. It's been a joy. I knew it would be. I do have to unfortunately end this because we're both very busy, but I know we'll talk again. I'm sure we can do lots more together. So thank you so much. Have a great rest of the day.
Thank you so much. See you soon.
Thank you so much for listening. I'd love to give you a free copy of my latest book, which you can download right now from my website, jamespreece.com. If you enjoyed this podcast, I'd really appreciate it if you could share the love by taking a few seconds to write a positive review on the iTunes store right now. See you next time.